You tell me what your diagnosis is.
So I have secondary lymphedema from the time I was 8 years old,
And
from cancer.
oh my goodness, what a hard thing for a child to go through. You have
Yeah.
such amazing spirit, and are you just a fighter by nature?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when did you first discover pneumatic compression to help your condition?
So there's a funny story behind that. So my radiation oncologist from University of Penn had recommended to me very early on. I might have been 8 or 9. And the funny story behind this is the person who brought my pneumatic compression was actually Eric Ansart. He was the first person who brought me my very first compression pump.
Wow. So that 6 degrees of separation, because as you know, Eric Ansart is the president of Lympha Press USA
Yep.
now. So he was the local rep at the time. And what was your experience?
Actually, the funny thing is I was actually the one who commented when you guys did the presentation, not the one with the lymphedema, but the other one that had the Lympha Press Mini for 15 years. That was me.
Wow, 15 years.
And it just finally, the motor in it just finally died. But it was good, and I was 8, so God only knows how many times I threw that thing around upside down, under my bed. You never know what I was doing to it. I was 8 years old.
So you have made pneumatic compression a part of your life since you were a child.
Mm-hmm.
What's your current experience?
So I have used every brand underneath the sun. And right now I actually have the Optimal Plus with the unilateral pants suit, and I love it.
So that's like the brand new, biggest, best, I wouldn't say biggest, but the best and most advanced technology. You've come a long way since the Mini. So
Yeah.
tell me, what is it about the Optimal Plus that you love?
So there's actually a couple things. One is the pre-therapy and post-therapy options. And the fact that I can choose if I want it to be sequential or if I want it to be the peristaltic mode. Or I think the machine actually calls it the wave mode. And then I also, and this is probably, when I told Eric this, he started laughing at me. And I told him, I said, one of my favorite features is the deflation feature, because it makes it very easy to fold up and put away without having to get extra air out of the garment because it's already out.
That's right. It's not puffy. It completely deflates. And in therapy too, deflation is really important as you're using the machine as well. So do you find it easy to use? Some people might say with all those features, is it difficult?
It is super easy, and I love the Bluetooth app that goes along with it, because I can go in and adjust pressure as needed. So like right now I actually have a small abscess on my stomach, so we actually had to turn off chamber 12 so that this way there's no pressure on chamber 12, but I can still use the same exact garment without having any issues and still get all the way up to my hip, because chamber 12 is the dead center of the abdomen.
For someone who's never used pneumatic compression, what does it feel like?
Honestly, it's very comfortable. Like, it's more of like a massage. I feel like it's like a massage. It's just it's not a human hand massage. It's more of a machine-based massage. The important part for me was I'm actually a post-vascular lymphatic transplant patient. So they actually took my omentum from my stomach and moved it into my groin and my leg and made my lymphatic system actually work better down there. And so we know that because of that, I had the truncal lymphedema. So I needed something that went up to include the truncal area, but also to include the right groin nodes at the same time, because they need a place to go. So, and the unilateral pants allows that to happen.
So there are some people that don't realize the importance of managing your condition. And if you're not compliant, it's just like if you join the gym, if you don't go, it doesn't work. So
Right.
what can you say to people watching about the importance of compliance?
I can tell you that I actually fooled doctors on the severity of my case because I was very compliant. I was actually, unfortunately, a patient that was refused treatment until I was 18 years old because I was a child. And in the early 1990s, they did not have pediatric lymphedema therapists. So they only had physical therapists. They could only do physical therapy for so much, and that only does so much. So they weren't doing the manual lymph drainage. They weren't doing the compression wrapping. So that didn't happen until I was 20, maybe about 20. And at that point, it had gotten to the point where I was constantly having cellulitis infections. So I had the lymphatic transplant done. And when I say constantly having infections, I had over 52 battles of cellulitis in a course of 10 years.
Oh my goodness, that's horrible.
So, and I had not had a single battle in my leg in over 5 years.
And that's because
Of a couple things. One being the surgical procedure I had, and two being the fact that I am ridiculously compliant when it comes to what they want me to do. So in 2015, after they got me back, because I had stopped using, because my insurance company at the time did not cover a compression pump after my initial Lympha Press died. So we had stopped it for a while. And then I had my first lymphatic transplant surgery done, and the lymphedema therapist recommended a different brand. So I'm like, all right, okay, whatever. So we try it. The first time, that one went back within 30 days because it didn't work. It was too light, and the pressure it was making my leg worse. So I'm like, okay, fine. So we get a different one. That one's okay, but it doesn't do the abdomen. And then they got me the abdominal piece. Well, the abdominal piece only filled the front of the abdomen and not the side or the back. So that wasn't helpful either. So then they went back and we tried the other one again because they came out with a newer model. And that one didn't work either. It worked for a little bit of time and then it stopped working. It wasn't doing anything. Mike had brought me the PCD 52 in December.
Mike O'Brien, that is your local rep. Wonderful.
I love Mike.
Mike O'Brien. Everybody loves Mike.
And I also know Cam as well.
Everybody knows Cam and everybody loves Cam too.
So I actually caught up with Cam and Eric actually at the National Lymphedema Network conference in Boston in October. And I explained to them about the other compression pump that was, it was just making my leg worse. And I figured out what the reason was that the pressure, I couldn't control the pressure on it. So the pressure was way too light. And I actually did some research for my master's degree and working towards a PhD on lymphatic research, and realized I found an article that actually stated the pressure of that other device. And it was only 9 to 13 millimeters of mercury total. I'm a modified stage 4. So, and that's from the surgeon who actually did my lymphatic transplant when he did the ICG lymphangiography test in the OR. He labeled it as a stage 4. But if you look at my leg, and you could ask Mike, you would never think that my leg was a stage 4 because it actually looks pretty darn close to the other one. It's only about 12 or 14% different on a bad day.
That's a message of hope for anybody watching about how great it can be if you manage your condition effectively with the right device and the right guidance, because not all compression therapy is created equal. So you make a compelling case.
And last year when I had seen my surgeon for a procedure last spring, I told him that we had gotten the other device, and he looked at me and he said to me, he goes, I want you to have Lympha Press somehow. Figure out how to get it. Having
the correct way to manage your condition keeps those infections away and keeps you mobile and active. And it actually, in the long run, ends up costing less. For a lot of people, they already have the diagnosis. It's just a matter of collecting the correct documentation. My goodness, you've had a lifelong struggle since your battle with cancer. I have to ask you, how do you keep your effervescent spirit? What's your secret?
I don't know. I've always just had that outlook of, okay, I mean, we were told that I didn't have long to live when I was 8 years old. I'm coming on to, in December, it'll be 30 years. So I'm actually one of the longest living survivors in the United States and I was the youngest one diagnosed with the cancer I had. And so Children's Hospital in Philadelphia did not know initially what it was. So they actually, a doctor who was visiting from Europe actually was able to diagnose it because it was in a strange place, and it just all the symptoms weren't adding up, but they knew it was malignant because they checked it beforehand because they thought I had a hernia.
Wow.
So
Scary. I can
yeah.
only imagine how scary it was as a child. And yet to talk to you today, now I can see why Mike O'Brien, your local rep, said, you've got to talk to this. Amazing. So any parting words for someone watching who maybe has just been diagnosed with lymphedema, maybe has never tried intermittent pneumatic compression? What would you say to them?
So I always like to tell people, don't get your hopes, don't think just because you get this diagnosis it's going to ruin you, because that is definitely not the case. Because in the end you can actually take it and run with it, which is what I've done. And I mean, I did 2 master's degrees, and my project focus was on lymphatic measurements. So this way I could take what I know was a struggle for me and turn it into, how can I make this better for somebody else in the long run? Because if you don't try to live your life, you're gonna miss out on an awful lot of things, and missing out on so many things is not what you want either. But you also have to make sure that you take the precautionary steps to be able to do those things. So when I say that, I mean, like, I'm a high school math teacher. So I'm on my feet all day long, 5 days a week normally, except for this year. And with that being the case, you know, I have to, in order for me to do that job, I have to do my very first job, which is to take care of my leg. If I don't take care of my leg, I cannot do my real job that I need to be able to do.
That's it.
Because I can't help anybody else. If I can't help myself to be able to do it, I can't help anybody else in the grand scheme of things.
And here you are helping a lot of other people by sharing your story. Do you mind if I stay in touch with you, and maybe we can, when I'm in the area one of these days, I'd love to do some photos of you and your Optimal Plus and talk more about it, since it's only been since April that you've gotten it, right?
I got it. It actually arrived at my house, I believe, May 15th. And the first time, my insurance company requires every 2 months to send measurements, just, you know, so they see that it's still working. And typically before a difference before and after is typically about 2.5 to 3 centimeter decrease in all three, in the ankle, calf, knee, and thigh, and 2 or 3 centimeters in each location.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I have really good, I get really good results from it.
That's
so,
well, you could be our model. So Catherine, I want to thank you so much for your time. And for those of you interested in finding out more about the Optimal Plus or Lympha Press, visit our website or watch this video.
Hi, I'm Dr. Caroline Fife. I'm the medical director of the St. Luke's Wound Center in the Woodlands, Texas.
A little bit. I'm not necessarily here anymore. I've grown up, got some beard, but my leg is down.
That is just amazing. Look at that. They're almost exactly the same size.
When you have a chronic and progressive disease like lymphedema, if you don't take it by the reins and you don't establish a new normal, you don't get a routine, it's not going to go away. And now having a device like the Lympha Press, it allows me to be compliant because it's easier to use and it's effective.
And each generation of devices gets better. It's interesting to think that 20 years ago we had this discussion about whether they could even help. And we're so far away from that now. It's exciting to see more sophisticated things become available that might not only work better, but get patients to use them better.
I'm Cam Ayala, and I am a hereditary lymphedema patient. As well, I'm a compression therapy consultant for Medical Solutions and Lympha Press, and today I want to talk to you guys about the brand new Optimal Plus pneumatic compression device by Lympha Press. There's many things to consider when selecting the perfect home therapy device for you. You're going to be using it daily, so what I found, ease of use is one of the most important factors. So as simple as pulling a zipper up, and I'm in my garment ready for therapy. Lympha Press's garments for upper and lower extremity are designed to inflate to fit, which means you're going to get consistent pressure every single time you receive treatment. The Lympha Press Optimal Plus garment design has overlapping chambers, which gives you consistent pressure throughout. As well, it prevents any type of lymphatic fluid reflux or backflow. The Lympha Press Optimal Plus is the most revolutionary pneumatic compression device for lymphedema and lipedema patients. It's an extension of your certified lymphedema therapist. And let's now talk about what's important to them. After speaking with several lymphedema therapists, we know that it's very important that they don't lose the ground that they've made with their patients once they're discharged or throughout their decongestive therapy. Also, it's important for lymphedema therapists to prescribe a pump that allows their patients to have customizable features and treatment plans catered to their condition. Beyond the great features and functionalities that come with the Optimal Plus pump, it's just as important that those features and functions are backed up by science and clinical studies.
Clinical studies prove Lympha Press works. A groundbreaking study showed in real time how Lympha Press activates the lymphatics to enhance lymphatic flow using near-infrared imaging technology. Dr. Fife noted, "This validates what we understand clinically, that patients improve when they use the Lympha Press pneumatic compression device."
The Lympha Press app is compatible with Apple and Android on your smart devices. Using Bluetooth connectivity, you can program your treatment setting from the convenience of your phone or smart device. With the Lympha Press Optimal Plus, lymphedema patients can collaborate with lymphedema therapists to come up with the best home therapy for you. As a lymphedema patient, I love my Lympha Press Optimal Plus because it provides me several treatment modes, such as sequential therapy, peristaltic or wave therapy, pre-therapy, post-therapy. The Lympha Press Optimal Plus offers the optimal home therapy for lymphedema and lipedema patients, partnering with their lymphedema therapist. As a lymphedema patient, I have finally found the optimal home compression therapy with the Lympha Press Optimal Plus.